Welcome to Constructive, a podcast about construction, technology, and whatever else comes up. Hope you enjoy. All right. Thanks for joining me on episode number 2. I've got Michael Gula here with me. Just been researching a little bit on LinkedIn about the topics I'm going to be talking about, and his name kept coming up. And I just love his LinkedIn profile. He's posting a lot of videos that are related to the topics I've been sharing, and they're amazing. So please go check him out on LinkedIn. His name is Michael Gula. Introduce yourself a little bit. You call yourself a 3D evangelist. What does that mean to you, Michael?
Hi, sir. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much for your kind words. Well, my core business is we have reality capturing company. We do laser scanning, we do photogrammetry. We have basically 2 lines of business. The first one is more technical with as-built documentations, with scan-to-BIM projects, and this stuff. And the second line is more into art and into movies, where we do 3D assets for VFX. We do AR, VR applications for our clients, for museums, for galleries, and so on. This is my daytime life, and as I like to say that I live like the life like a Batman. I have 2 lives. So the first one was my day life, and then the second is what I do on LinkedIn, where I try to build the audience around basically anything 3D. It's my passion. It's something that I live by. You can see it also on my background, because today is against my religion. That's something that I truly believe in, and what I live by. So yeah, my mission on LinkedIn is to really evangelize and to bring people new technologies in terms of software, hardware, new solutions, new workflows, and this stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, so like I was telling you in our prep, just spent about 15 years in the construction industry, and even when I was in college, I kind of thought things would move a lot faster than they did. I was at the time long enough ago to where we were still learning how to draw construction plans with a pencil, which is funny to me to think about. I'm sure that makes me sound really old to these young people, but we were learning at the same time also how to design in digitally and 3D, so 2D digital drawings. But then I got a taste of that 3D drawing capability and thought we would never make construction plans again in 2D. And my whole career, so the last 15 years, I've just seen the construction industry have a really hard time moving into that future where everything is 3D. And maybe it will never, maybe there will always be some form of paper. But I just think that, especially with construction, it seems like 3D is almost necessary to really be able to plan a project well, because especially explaining to trades with a set of drawings, like electrical drawings, for example. I have no idea how to read 2D electrical drawings. I feel like once you get that stuff into 3D, you can actually visualize it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering if you have an idea of how long it will take before all this stuff is 3D, if that's never, but maybe when it's at least popular to where even smaller projects are getting a full 3D set of drawings. And you mentioned as-built too. I'm wondering too, almost all the projects I go on are really old projects. They don't have an as-built, and I'm like, how do you not have an as-built? It's required. And you're doing stuff where it's like you can create an as-built with a 3D camera kind of pretty quickly now, right? What are your thoughts on all that stuff?
Well, I would start with the construction industry as a whole. Like, I think that the construction industry is one that is like the most obvious one to use 3D, because basically anything you do you do in 3D in some environment,
Right.
in some spatially designed place, right? Where it makes a lot of sense to be using 3D. And at the same time, you have many stakeholders, and by stakeholders I usually mean workers that are how would I say it politely? I don't want to be rude, but they are usually not really brainy people, right? So it could be really difficult to make them use their iPads and I don't know, some AR glasses and this stuff like every day on the construction site. So I think this is something that is not working very well together. But like we cannot stop the progress. So I truly believe that even the construction business is going to adopt the 3D workflows. And I'm not just talking about augmented reality, like the whole site planning and I don't know, like using a digital twin during construction and this stuff. I think that it's gonna make it into the industry. It just maybe takes a little more time because it needs a lot of education, explanation, and showcases to really make the important stakeholders in the project
But
like
this stuff
to
is
go for
it's
it.
getting cheaper as well. It's relatively affordable these days to, I mean, I guess I don't know. You tell me too, the logistical side of creating a digital twin of a building. Let's say,
Oh,
go ahead.
yeah, people don't like changes generally. It
Mm.
doesn't matter what industry or what field we are talking about. People don't like changes. So there is always this natural reaction when you show them something new, something that they don't know. They will always tell you like, okay, we have been doing this for 15 years or 20 or 30 years this way. There's no reason to do it differently. But there is like you can see a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, a lot of not well spent money, and like really pricey errors on construction sites. So um, the problem is that they usually come to you or to companies like ours in the moment when they really screw up, right?
Mm.
It's not it's not before process or when we explain to them what can happen. It's usually after it happens.
Right.
So, and that's the problem because we can clearly show the ROI of their investment into reality capturing and digital twin. We can clearly show them beforehand, but it's very pricey afterwards, right?
Okay, let's talk about preventing those big mistakes then with 3D technology. What are kind of the first steps? Let's say I'm a contractor, pretty big contractor, make plenty of money. I can afford new technology. I'm maybe a little bit resistant to change like you've talked about, but I come to you and I say, I want to start implementing this stuff. Where should I even start? What would you tell that person?
Uh, I would just start with the continuous, for example, drone scanning. Just to start with, I don't know, once a month to do drone scanning of the whole site. Of course, you will be missing like parts that are already overbuilt and some hidden stuff, but at least you will have like very periodic documentation of the development of the site. These scans can be used for meetings with all the stakeholders that usually are from different parts of the country. They would need to travel a lot, spend another thousands of dollars for just the travel costs, right? So with digitizing the site regularly, this can really help to make better decisions and to be informed really quickly about what's happening on the site.
What kind of data are we getting? So, treat me like I know nothing. I do know a little bit about
Okay.
this. I fly a drone every once in a while, but yeah, what kind of data are we getting from drones? I've seen stuff about measuring stockpiles. I've seen stuff, yeah, like creating a whole digital twin of a building. I guess you could send a drone inside the building and get some interiors. You could also hold a 3D camera, right?
Yeah.
But what kind of data have you seen be most valuable to your clients?
Let's talk basics. I mean, we don't have to dive deep into drones going inside the buildings because this is something very new, uh, with still like child illnesses and this stuff. So
Yeah.
but start with the beginnings. Almost every construction company these days have drones just to make images of the site, right? Just to put them on Facebook or send them to the general manager or something like that, right? But these drones can actually be used with automatical missions for digitizing the assets, right? Uh, just for the starters, you don't need to pay thousands or ten thousands of dollars to specialized companies. If you just want to try it, you can really use available applications to set the automatic missions on above your site, just to take hundreds of pictures of your site and then use some photogrammetry software to create 3D mesh of the site. With 3D mesh, you basically get the digital copy of your object or your site. You can export or prepare also ortho mosaic image from that, where you can measure volumes, you can measure areas and this stuff. So yeah, there are a lot of outputs that you can get from basically the same data. Once you scan the site, then you can work with measuring dirt, with measuring
Right.
holes and stuff, right? So
Pretty much anything you want, I
yeah,
assume.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, what's some of the coolest stuff you're testing lately? What's upcoming for maybe even specifically for construction industry, but what's the thing on the horizon that you're getting most excited about?
Yeah, I have mentioned it several times in my post that I think that our scanning business is fastly going to an end because you can see everywhere those robots with installed scanners, right?
Hmm.
Sure, it's still very young. It's not something that will come in this year, next year, or in 2 years. But uh, once it's there, it's going to develop more and to be better and better. So I think really in like 5 to 7 years, we will be able to see it very regularly on construction site, especially because these robots are very good in conditions where it's either very difficult for people to walk safely, or for example, in case of construction sites, it's great that it can scan during night, right, where nobody's on the
Sure.
on the site, right? So yeah, this is something that I'm very interested in, and I think it really has the future.
Yeah, a robot wouldn't even need a hard hat, I guess. You just let
Yeah.
let that thing go. But
And
that's an
it
int
doesn't have also smoking breaks, so
right. That's an interesting side of it, just that if we're probably going to be rid of the person walking around scanning a building and have a robot in exchange. To me, that means someone like you with your expertise would be just as valuable still because someone needs to translate the data from the robot into something humans find really valuable, right? And I imagine
yeah,
that person being someone like
definitely.
you.
This is like general discussion about robotics and about artificial intelligence, right? There is always this discussion that it's gonna uh, cost people their jobs. It's gonna take the jobs from regular people, professionals, but it's not true. Like what these technologies is going to do are going to do is to actually democratize the industry and make jobs even more feasible for more different projects. Because, for example, to use robots with the scanner these days, you need to be building like these huge buildings with tens of millions of budgets or maybe more, because otherwise it wouldn't be feasible to buy robot and scanner for 250K or something like that, right? So but once it will be more developed and more reliable to use it, then there will be companies that will buy it, and that they will be doing more and more jobs with this. It wouldn't mean that like, for example, if I take my company, right now we have several people scanning. If we have these robots and autonomous drones and this stuff, it doesn't mean that I will just leave people go, right? It means that I will be able to do more jobs
Hmm.
and more to scan more sites that these days it wouldn't be feasible for them to pay for it. But since I will be able to do more jobs more efficiently, I will be able to offer lower prices and to do more jobs instead of leaving people to go.
Hmm. And just kind of for my last little bit here, I was wondering, I think I have an audience of people who some of them probably have no idea what some of this stuff we're talking about is, but I wondered if you could do a little bit of defining some terms here for me, and maybe I
Sure.
could just go through because I think I know what some of this stuff is, but I'd love to have you just because of your expertise talk about it. So LiDAR, what is LiDAR?
It's basically a technology that uses light for measuring distances.
Cool. And that is something even on our phones. We can use it to scan the room we're in right now and create a 3D image of the room we're in.
Yeah, with iPhones, LiDAR is a little bit difficult because you will find many people that will scream and argue that it's not real LiDAR because it's not
Hmm.
using actual laser. It's using different sensors that are projecting lights, but it's not laser beams. But in very broad definition of lidars, I think that really also iPhone's sensors are in this category of lidars. Yes, you can do scanning with iPhone lidar right now, but you cannot really rely on the accuracies. It tends to bring more errors if you do larger spaces. So, for example, if you are doing your kitchen renovation or bathroom, or you want to scan your apartment, just for, I don't know, like rough estimations for architects to tell you that it's going to cost this and this, then it's totally fine. If you need to scan whole building with 8 floors, then you're really not going to do this with iPhone. I have met several clients that were very confident about, yeah, we have bought this newest iPhone and we are going to scan our whole facility of, I don't know, 10,000 square meters. And I was just like, no, you're not. You're really
Right.
not.
Right. Okay, that brings me to another question before I go through some more terms is accuracy. I know that you can have varying levels of measurement accuracy, but are we like able to get down to millimeter accuracy? And is that really the hardest thing, or is it not really about accuracy? I've seen some of your posts talk about this
Are we
too.
still talking about iPhone lidar or
No, just in general scanning,
general? Well, in
getting.
general, you have different types of scanners. You can go from like with iPhone, for example, you can get accuracy within centimeters, for example, right? With terrestrial laser scanners, it can go down to millimeters. And for example, with specialized scanning stations, you can go below millimeters. So it really depends on the job that you want to do, and then you choose the right tool for it.
Cool. Just a couple more terms. Photogrammetry. What does that mean?
That's an art. That's an art because uh yeah, it's a workflow. When you get from 2D images of some object, you get the 3D reconstruction of this object. The main idea is that you capture this object from as many angles as possible. You are trying to cover the whole object with images, and at the same time you are trying to keep overlaps on these images, so that the software can find the same features on those images. And once the software finds at least uh, three same pixels or features on different images, it can actually create the 3D position of these points, and this is how it recreates the 3D object from 2D images.
Got it. Awesome. What about Gaussian splatter? I've heard this. This is one I don't know a lot about. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's this is new technology. It came after nerves. Like nerves were the first thing different from photogrammetry, or something new that people are arguing if it's going to replace photogrammetry or not. It's basically we were working with neural representation of the scene or 3D object. Um, why it's different from photogrammetry is that with photogrammetry you are trying to reconstruct the geometry of the object, but with nerves and the Gaussian splatting, the objective of this reconstruction is the visual thing, right? So uh, while with photogrammetry you are trying to get as accurate geometrical representation, with the nerves and Gaussian splatting you are trying to achieve as accurate visual representation of the object. So this means that you can get very clear 3D scene from Gaussian splatting, which looks very accurate. But once you rotate it, you will see that there are gaps, that there are missing parts, which with photogrammetry, for example, wouldn't be there.
Hmm. Gotcha. And then I just want to do a, I guess I can do this, but virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. To me, I think some people think of all these things who haven't experienced it yet, think of it all as the same thing. And it's like putting on a pair of goggles where you're playing a video game and
Yeah.
nobody can interact with you. But mixed reality and augmented reality is the one I'm really like intrigued by, because it can be social. It could be like, I imagine a job site where you've got project managers and contractors in the room together. Someday, when we can all have a pair of goggles, we can look at the plans overlaid on the construction site while it's being built and say, oh, the plumbing is going to go in here, and we can kind of physically see it in its
Yeah.
place, and the electrical will be over there. So do you want to do a quick little like what is augmented or mixed reality, and how, like, some people might think that's just the same as VR, and they might have no idea how powerful it could be to have an overlay inside of a pair of glasses.
It's quite a different approach, because with VR you are basically looking at uh, totally reconstructed or modeled environment, right? That has nothing to do with the actual reality around you. With mixed and augmented reality, you are trying to place and interact with modeled stuff and with artificial objects within the real reality, right? So, for example, in constructions industry, it's, as you mentioned, very important that you can actually see future plumbings in the mixed reality, where they're actually not yet there, but you can see where they will be. You can spot some I don't know, clashes. You can show workers on the side that it's going to be here, so don't put these bricks there because you are going to move them again, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this can be really helpful on the side.
So one more question, Michael. I saw you attended the Reality Capture Network conference. That conference looked really amazing to me. What was one of your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, since we are in a podcast dedicated to construction industry, I would say that I had this experience, because usually when I speak to people from construction industry, and I try to explain to them new technologies in 3D. I always feel like I'm speaking to monkeys, with all due respect, but it's very difficult to explain it to them. And I was on RCN, and I was attending this panel, and there was this guy Todd Wynn from Rogers O'Brien Construction Company, and he's from construction industry, and he has so much vision for the construction business and how it should work and how to implement all new technologies. And I was amazed. That was like really the first person that I met from the construction industry that is truly, absolutely deep into 3D and into using new technologies. So that was amazing to see that
Maybe you
it
can
is
connect.
changing.
Yeah, please connect me with this guy. I'd love to have him on the podcast, and feel free to check him out too on LinkedIn. So cool. Thanks so much, Michael. I'm gonna have to have you back at some point and talk about something more specific, but thanks for giving me some background to some of this stuff. And like I said, go check Michael out on LinkedIn. I guess I'll ask you one last question. What do you
Sure, go
think?
ahead.
Are we in a simulation? Are you scanning something that's already potentially virtual?
Oh, this is very like I like these masks idea that uh, the probability that we are actually not living in base reality is is like calculable, right?
Huh.
So since it's not zero, the
Uh-huh.
probability, I would say that it's very difficult to tell. And with the development in last decade, I would say it's going so fast that day after day, I'm really not absolutely sure if we are living the base reality.
It's
And
a
I
pretty
don't
good
wanna and I don't
simulation though.
wanna sound
Yeah.
like like this
Yeah.
out of this world, but yeah, that's something very hard to believe that the same development wasn't done 100 years ago, and we are just connected to metrics, so called, and living the another level of reality, not the
I
base
have
one.
a really hard time disagreeing with that. And I'm just the only thing I'm left with is this is an amazing simulation. It's a pretty cool
Yeah.
one.